Homa Bay on the issues that were raised by the Auditor General. Due to limitations of time, we were not able to have a physical meeting, but we relied on your written responses to do a report to the Senate. It is on that report and recommendations of the Senate that today we will be asking the Governor to update us on the measures and action taken. So the parameters for today's conversation is the report of the Auditor General and the recommendations of the Senate. Some of those recommendations were for EACC or DCI to take some action, or for the Governor to take some action. That is what we will be probing today. I take judicial notice that there have been conversations, particularly in the county where we come from, with regards to certain topics, some of which might be in this audit report. I have received a memorandum from contractors from Homa Bay County, and I had made it clear to them that they can reach their senator anytime using any media, using the press, using social media platforms. That is okay. But when it comes to addressing the Senate as an institution, then there are certain procedures and formalities that must be followed. And I therefore communicated to the contractors that they could file a formal memorandum or letter to the Senate, and this committee will grant them an audience. And if this committee needs to call the Governor to respond to the issues they have raised, this committee will do so. So I want to encourage, be they the contractors, be they the circles and institutions, some of whom have sent petitions to me saying that statutory deductions have not been remitted. We are not rubbishing those allegations, but we are just asking we do it in a formal manner and a structured manner, so that the Governor and the County Executive has an opportunity also to respond to the issues. So today we will deal with the report of the Auditor General. The other related issues, if we can't process them here, we can still set another date for a broader conversation with the other stakeholders. In the earlier deliberation in the morning, we have also taken the position that we are more effective when we come to counties. And so in the month of October, or perhaps towards the end of October or early November, we intend to do a county visit to the Western Circuit, where we'll be visiting Nyamira County, we will visit Homa Bay County, and a few other neighboring counties, because some of the issues in this report require physical verification. So you can't discuss Kigoto in Nairobi. You cannot discuss Waterpan in Karachuonyo in Nairobi. So we will still have that opportunity to come to Homa Bay and engage those various stakeholders. So I just wanted to make that clear and to assure those who had expectations that we'll be discussing in detail issues to do with contractors, that if we do it properly and formally, then the Senate will be seized of the matter, and we will even come to Homa Bay to have that conversation. So with that, we can go to the report of the Auditor General, but I want to ask the County Assembly, first of all, whether they have processed these reports and if there are any recommendations that you may wish to share with the Senate.
The ISPAC number, whether is active or is in good standing. There are two things that Chair needs to be confirmed: whether is active and whether is in good standing. And then number two, we need to invoke the Public Audit Act. When an officer like Sifuna Sita signs a very serious document that has financial statements that is not properly signed, then I think we should not recommend administrative action. I think this is professional misconduct and should be written to the ISPAC for punishment. Because I can imagine this recklessness and dereliction of duty that has been done. So, Chair, unless Mr. Sifuna Sita will tell us something unique that will avert our thinking in terms of signing this documentation, then the Public Audit Act and the necessary ISPAC, he must be punished accordingly. And I think, Chair, you have made ruling where even clerical errors, these matters have been referred to the ISPAC. So, Chair, I submit that as the Secretariat check on the ISPAC number of this gentleman, this matter must be taken up by ISPAC and, of course, cited for professional misconduct. I yield, Chair.
Could we just go through the report and find out whether there are any other professional malpractices beyond the signatory ones, then we can consolidate our case to ISPAC. But I think that's an observation that if there was some keenness, the auditor ought to have raised it, and it should have been arrested at the management letter level. We expect Homa Bay to do better, because the stories of on-source revenue in Homa Bay, what we hear are stories of success. But let's look at the details. So, OAG, why don't we start by looking at the systems environment? I think the governance environment. Governor, I've had someone introduce themselves as a chair of a board.
Congratulations, Chair, and we are proud that to be associated with you, Chair, as Homa Bay County. But coming to the question of the structure of how we do our revenue collection, so we have our receiver of revenue, who's the Chief Officer for Finance, and we also, in 2023, did pass a Homa Bay County Revenue Board Act, and we constituted a County Revenue Board chaired by Dr. Konyango, who's here with us, and they are the ones overall responsible for collection of revenue, the administration of revenue collection. It is a board of 7 members. There's 7. Yeah, it's a board of 7 members with us, a CEO of the board who is also the director of revenue in the county. So what they do is, apart from running, they're a part-time board, so they run revenue collection, and we convene every second Thursday of the month. The board convenes all of us, the entire, myself, my CCs, and the chief officers, to review the revenue collection. So in terms of structure, we have the Revenue Administration Act, we have the Revenue Board Act, and then we have the Finance Act. So that is the structure that we use for purposes of revenue collection, Chair. So the receiver of revenue is also a member of that board. It sits in that board.
In terms of forecasting for on-source revenue, is that done by the board, or that is done by management?
This is done by the board in consultation with the management. So it is done by the management in consultation with the board.
Because one of the concerns that we had noted earlier is that you had a budget of 2.3 billion on-source revenue. Of course, it was revised along the way, and you achieved 1.2 billion. And the question that we've always had is that, do we overestimate on-source revenue so that we can balance some numbers, especially the fiscal responsibility numbers? What's the science of budgeting 2.3 and achieving 1.2?
Yeah.
What is that outlier event that you're anticipating that would grow your revenues by 2 billion in a year?
Chair, before the governor responds,
Senators Sifuna.
Perhaps she was anticipating some sort of pandemic in Homa Bay. Because if you look at the numbers here, out of the 1.2 billion realized from as on-source revenue, 841 million is from hospital charges. And that is very worrying to me, because I'm wondering, why do you need a board? I thought that board is for revenue is supposed to come up with creative ways to raise revenue for the entity governor. Just sitting there at level 4 and waiting for people to come and pay hospital fees is not very creative. And the people of this country have heard stories about how healthcare is supposed to be free. What happens, Governor, when we achieve true universal healthcare? The entire revenue model for Homa Bay will collapse.
But Governor, you may respond. We are happy to listen to a success story.
Thank you very much, Chairman, and I thank the senators for their questions. So Senator Sifuna said, if we remove the health sector revenues, will our revenue model collapse? So first, I'd like to state that when we came to Homa Bay in 2022-23, our revenue, inclusive of the health sector revenue, was 300, was it 200? Yeah, it was 234 million, which means that...
Which financial year is that?
That was 2019-20 or 2021-22. 2021-22. So starting from that point, inclusive of the revenue generated from healthcare, we wanted to see how to consolidate our revenue. The revenue...
Accuracy, just on accuracy, Governor.
Yeah.
I thought the report has been done by Were. Why don't the Governor quote the exact figure, and it is here. This is on receiver of revenue 21-22. This is your receiver of revenue statements for financial year 20, but you have given analysis of 21-22.
How much was it? How much?
311,995,474.
21-22. Okay.
And then in 22-23 is 859,454,023. And now in 2023-2024 is 1.2 billion 495,830.
Thank you.
Yeah, but it demonstrates what you're saying.
So I think the point I was trying to make there is that inclusive of the healthcare revenue, the revenue was still performing very, very low. So one of the things we had to do within our facilities is to see also how do we consolidate the revenue, because this revenue goes back to provide healthcare to the people. So so in the first place, our revenue improvement plan had to include our health sector revenue, because we felt there was also something going on there that we could work together to improve. And that is why we moved it from the 311 and to 2022-2023. No, 2022-2023. It was 859. So Senator Sifuna, even working within, what we have, even in terms of healthcare revenue, there has still been significant improvement, even in that sector alone. And that improvement reflects then on the level of service within the facilities. Then coming to the other revenue streams. If you look at land rates, for example, actual revenues in 2022-2023 was 5.9 million, and then actual revenues in 2023-24 was 8.3 million. That is for land rates as an example. If you look at single business permits, in 2022-2023, there were 61,770,000. If you look at 2023-2024, we moved from 61 million to 99 million. And in 2024-2025, we are at 101 million. So we have, because of the revenue administration measures, including the board, we have had improvement, not just in the health revenue, but in all our revenue streams, because of the order that has been created.
Governor, you might be looking at a different document, because mine is 64 million for 2022-2023 for single business permits.
Yeah, the report that I have here is 61 million. What you have is?
22-23 is 64,744,620.
And 23-24?
101. We don't have the 90 that you're speaking of.
I think your team should point you to the statement of receipts and disbursements under the receiver of revenue statement.
That report.
Because that's a report, that's the basis of the audit report. It bears the numbers that Senator Sifuna is.
And Governor, the reason why I am expressing concern personally, and you see the chair was prodding me to say my other title. I didn't want to say it, but now I have to say it. The SG of ODM, a party that has committed that when we take power, there will be free healthcare, and the people of Homa Bay will not be paying anything at level 4 hospitals. That will take away 70% of your revenue. That's the concern we are raising. Secondly, Governor, address these landing fees. If in my head I get it correctly, are these beach landing fees for fishermen?
This is beach landing.
Yeah. So it is a bit odd that a county that is known for fishing and its beaches is making less from landing fees than veterinary services.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. Let me answer the question on healthcare by saying that even the monies that we are raising currently from health, they are not out of pocket expenditure. They are insurance. They are from payments from SHA. They are payments from insurance. Mostly, actually, 95% is payment by insurance to the facilities. So it's not out of pocket. So even when we get to universal health coverage, like we're doing at the moment, these monies continue to come because people don't pay out of pocket, but they're paid, the insurance pays the facilities. NHIF pays, but SHA pays even more now for facilities because the registration is higher. In terms of fish landing, Mr. Chairman, you are a fisherman yourself, and you know that it has been very, very difficult to harness a revenue stream like fish landing because people have been landing over the years for free. So these are streams that we are introducing, and we are working day and night with our beach management units to try and get them to help us to get these fish landing fees. So fish cess and fish landing are streams that have been nearly non-existent, but they are streams that we are harnessing slowly. But you know that with the protests that we had, it has been very, very difficult to introduce, taxes that did not exist well, because people are very, very jittery about paying new monies. But we are discussing constantly. Even when you look at the fish cess, it is some of the things that were very, very low, but we are growing them, and we are growing them slowly. But we have them as streams because we want to grow them. But you can't grow them alone. You can't be at the beaches and everywhere. You have to grow them in partnership with the beach management units. Those processes sometimes do take time. But Chairman, the point I was making is that overall...
Maybe before you lose it, because as you have said, I'm a fisherman. This committee would not be the one to advocate that you put some tax for boats to land on beaches that existed even before Kenya became Kenya. But your receiver of revenue should have pointed you to a stream called beach service fee, which fetched 10.9 million, where there was a growth from 7 to 10.9. So I think the BMUs underassess. So the BMUs are paying something. Let the message not go out that the Senate is asking for enforcement of landing fees for boats. That will be, there'll be an uprising.
Protecting yourself politically or
Chair, first of all,
of interest?
Chair, first of all,
Protect indigenous communities.
the governor.
Chairman, is more political protection as opposed to.
Chair, I think the governor has, well, in a way, outed you. Now we know that you're a fisherman. That you have interest to protect when it comes to landing fee. But I think the bigger question, Governor, is, Governor,
Yes.
I think the bigger question is, does it concern you and your government that 70% of your own source revenue comes from a single stream? You know, that should concern anyone. Whether or not that means you introduce fees in landing and whatever you're going to do, it must concern anyone that 70% of an entire county's own source revenue comes from one revenue stream.
And are we that sick?
That's the problem.
Chair, on health, so that she can combine both. Apart from being concerned, you have said it's mostly not out of pocket, but you are getting, Chair, I think 3 days ago or for last week, we were with the ICT committee in Machakos, and they had a pending bill of 500 million from SHA. So what is the success rate? Because as under the arrangement, the wananchi are not supposed to be charged on outpatient. So you have made comparison between the NHIF and SHA. So how can you paint the picture on how this revenue will grow? Because if you are saying it is more significant after the reimburses from NHIF, there will be a great improvement through the social health authority. So can you paint that? And you know, Chair, we saw, and you know, we are judicially noticed that there were some of your facilities that they were being accused that they do not exist, but they receive remittances from SHA, and I think it became a national concern. So maybe put into us that perspective in terms of reimbursement from the Social Health Authority. But on the issue of whether they are sick, I think you should tell us whether is the facilities within Homa Bay serving only Homa Bay residents, or some of your neighbors from Kisumu and Kisii have immigrated, and therefore that is why you are getting more resources.
Okay, Governor.
Thank you, Chairman. Chairman, I think I just wanted to state that the growth in revenue within health is become as a result of tightening a lot of things within the sector, the health sector, and also putting our eyes as a government on the health sector revenues and making sure that we have no leakages there, and that the facilities are facilitated to be able to make their claims and do everything. And we're also registering. We moved our registrations, for example, from 6% to 19% when we were still in NHIF, and now to 49% when we have moved to SHA. So that has been the push. Are we concerned that 70% of our revenue is from health? Yes. We want to diversify our revenue streams. So we have been working, for example, on our land revenues, digitizing of our land records and linking it up to the revenue system. And that also I would like to answer Senator Cherargei, who asked, do we have a digital system? Do we have all our streams onboarded on the digital system? Yes, we have most of our streams onboarded onto the digital system. Land was one of the later ones, but land in the last couple of months, we have also been able to now link up land. So one of the streams that we are putting all our eyes on in this coming financial year, is the land rates revenues, because these are revenues that are there, and if you go after the owners of the land, then they can be able to pay both the arrears that they hold and also the current revenues. That can be able to push. We have pushed a lot our single business permits. As you saw, we have had quite a bit of growth from about 64 to 101 million within one financial year. That's no mean feat. Remembering that Homa Bay is a rural village county, most of the towns are in the rural areas. To try to get SBPs to that extent also took a lot of work, digitization, digital invoicing, so that people are able to pay up for the invoices. I wanted to respond to the question of SHA and the facilities that were said not to have existed, and I think it is very clear that in naming of places, many areas have the same name, and in this case, we had a facility that we are yet to open in Nyandiwa in Kasipul constituency. It is a dispensary. And then we have Nyandiwa Level 4 Hospital, which is in Suba South, which is a facility that has been in existence since the 70s. So apart from the political spin that the issue got, these are two distinct facilities, and recently we received the Health Committee of the National Assembly that came and saw both the facility in Kasipul and the facility in Nyandiwa, and the kind of work that the facility in Nyandiwa has done, even with their FIF, they were very, very impressed at the improvements that have taken place in the real Nyandiwa. But I think there was a political spin to it. I just wanted to make that clear since Senator Cherargei raised it. So the question of are we that sick does not really arise. I think people get sick and go to facilities, but the reason for increase of revenue is very, very deliberate. Very, very deliberate in terms of getting our revenue collection and administration in order. And Chairman, there was a question you asked earlier about how do we project, and I wanted the chairman of the Revenue Board, who's also a long-standing retired from KRA after serving there for over 30 years, to maybe just make a short response of how do we project our revenue and how did we result in an overprojection that fell short.
Okay, before that interjection, let's hear from the Vice Chair and Senator Sifuna.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I'm looking at note 12, and I got interested. on this revenue stream on conservancy administration, which increased from 1.2 million to 12 million in 2023-2024. And when I look at page 11 of the statements, that conservancy administration, the major increment was as a result of liquor licensing. That is on page 11, up there, which increased from 350,500 to 10.9 million. What was happening before, Governor? Does it mean that there were no licenses or liquor licensing in 2022-2023? So much so that maybe because of a law or just enforcement, we got this increment from 350 to 10.9 million, just for my curiosity, Chair.
Okay.
Thank you, Chairman. In terms of liquor license, you remember, Chairman, our first meeting in KICC, one of the things we were put to task on is whether we had mapped our facilities and whether we were, ready to push an improvement in that particular revenue stream. And we assured you that by the September of that year, we were going to have fully mapped our liquor facilities, and that was going to result in an improvement. So we mapped all our facilities, and we also mapped them to the system. So we have been able to push increase in liquor licensing by mapping all the liquor facilities, and also through the support by the Revenue Board and the reviews, the monthly reviews of what revenues we are receiving. That is what has resulted in that push. And that push is not just in liquor alone. If you look at the revenue streams, you will see that majority of them, just by leadership, monitoring, and efficient revenue management system and digitization, you're able to see much more revenues. Chair, we are not where we want to be in terms of revenue. We have room for improvement, and a lot of it. And we are daily working on that room for improvement. We are daily improving our revenue, and when we come back for 2024-25, you will see that a lot of the streams, again, we have moved further than where we were. In terms of the question of the levels of facilities that are receiving money, in 2023-24, we were on NHIF mostly, and NHIF was mostly giving money to level 4 facilities, with the exception of Linda Mama, which was being given to facilities, lower level facilities that were charging. Now, with the SHA, now you have the reimbursement of the primary health care fund that is going to lower level facilities, and that's why we are saying lower level facilities are not expecting any money from the public. That is level 2 and 3, because they are getting the primary health care fund directly from SHA. So moving forward, Chairman, we have seen 2024-25, the revenues have actually gone higher. What has happened is out-of-pocket has reduced. And why has out-of-pocket reduced? It has been because of the, and I'm not speaking about for SHA generally. And the reason I also responded to the issue of Nyandiwa was I was responding to the specific Homa Bay question. And even the politics I was referring to was specific Homa Bay politics, not necessarily national politics in that sense. So what we have seen in 2024-25 is an increase. Why? Because and a reduction of out-of-pocket expenditure, but an increase in the amount of reimbursement. This is because SHA has removed the waiting period. The 2 months that you had to wait, the 60 days that you had to wait in NHIF. So if I arrive at a facility and I need to, spend 10,000, but my SHA for the whole year is 6,000, I will pay SHA for 6,000, and then I will receive treatment. So this has seen more people paying in the SHA, and therefore the amount of money that the hospitals are receiving in reimbursement has grown. And the amount of money people are spending on out-of-pocket has reduced. Not for any reason, just because people can pay immediately and get services. The viability of that, or the question of its sustainability and so on, I think that's what you said is a different question and is a question to be answered by a different person.
There's a capitation. Is it 9,000 on average? It is
900 shillings.
So views of the chair. I think with that we will. The meeting adjourns. We wish the delegation a safe journey back to Homa Bay. We meet on Thursday. On Thursday at 9:30. The meeting is adjourned. No.
It was a political hot seat, but Gladys Wanga did not flinch. In a high-voltage session before the Senate, the Homa Bay governor faced a barrage of tough, no-nonsense questions from Senators Sifuna, Moses Kajwang, and Samson Cherargei, each coming with their own political firepower. From country budget allocations, stalled projects, to questions on transparency and ward development equity, the senators came out swinging, but Wanga, she met fire with calm, steel, and facts. You can bring politics, but I will bring performance, she fired back, drawing applause from sections of the gallery. Sifuna, representing Nairobi, pressed hard on resources utilization and public participation. Kajwang, her own county senator, came at her with probing questions about local projects, and Cherargei, ever the firebrand, tried cornering her on procurement integrity. But Wanga flipped the script with documents in hand and a composed face. She defended her administration's record, promising audits, public disclosure, and even inviting senators for a joint oversight missions. I am not afraid of scrutiny. I am afraid of letting down my people, she declared. It wasn't just a grilling. It became a masterclass in political poise and executive defense. Wanga walked in as the accused and walked out looking like a boss. Stay safe, stay engaged, and keep the conversation going. Until next time, keep believing in a better, stronger nation.